Hello there, listener. Welcome back to another episode of Sex Here and Now. As always, I'm your host, Matt Lockman. I'm a licensed clinical therapist and ASECT certified sex therapist. Before I get started, please subscribe and rate this podcast. And while you're at it, head on over to my YouTube channel and follow Cleveland Sex Therapy for more sex positive content. Some of you may already be here watching this video, and if that is you, I would just like to say, hi, like and subscribe, please. So for today, I want to tackle a topic that I see often in my office. A monogamous couple, typically in their late 30s or 40s, reaches out to me and asks to start therapy. I sit with them, and after going through HIPAA and pleasantries, we get down to it, and they reveal that they are still madly in love with each other, but just don't have sex. The great Esther Perel would call this an erotic stalemate. So what do we do? How do we navigate this? The good news is that this is workable, and I can help. The not so good news is that this is going to require work. So if you are ready and willing, I am going to go over a few things to consider. First, let's talk a little bit about why this happens. The place we have to start with this, in my opinion, is Sternberg's triangular theory of love. Yes, stay with me, dear listener. I swear this isn't school, and I'm going to do my best to make this really digestible for you. This theory was developed by psychologist Robert J. Sternberg in the mid-1980s, and the theory proposes that love consists of three interconnected components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Think of this sort of like an XY axis in your brain. Most of the time when we meet someone, passion is high and intimacy and commitment, they're pretty low. This makes sense, right? Humans love novelty and newness. We are not so much about intimacy and commitment right when we meet somebody. So basically, erotic energy is flowing. Over time, though, intimacy and commitment rise, sucking the energy out of passion. But you have heard me say this before. It's not if passion fades, it's when passion fades. And to me, that's when the real relationship starts. At this point, usually we find ourselves at a sexual impasse and uncertain of what to do. Attraction has faded, novelty is worn off, and the very thing that helped connect us, vulnerability and emotional connection, is now working against us. But I should say a quick note for my couples and polyamorous folk who report never really having high passion. Typically, this means friendship came first. And because of that, you have just bypassed the erotic part of your relationship, and we wind up in the exact same spot, needing to figure out how to dive back into the deepness of eroticism. Before I continue, I want to make sure we are all on the same page here. This is common in all relationships. This is very common. I know social media may tell us otherwise, and we may be hearing our friends tell us how much sex they are having, but this is just not true. And no, I'm not saying that your friends are lying, although they may be. This is a pretty difficult topic to talk about and to admit, especially when things are not going so well in our romantic relationships. But what I am saying is that this boat that you may be in is extremely big, and I am sure you will recognize a lot of people in it. There are many ways of tackling this issue, and I'm going to do my best to touch on a few of them. Because there are so many resources, I have linked some of my own in the show notes for all of you to check out. So now that we know one of the reasons why this tends to happen, we need to understand how our brain works when it comes to sexual arousal. The dual control model of sexual response, which was developed by Dr. John Bancroft and Dr. Eric Janssen at the Kinsey Institute, in like the late 1990s and early 2000s points us in the right direction here. They described arousal and desire as having both a gas pedal, so this would be excitation, or what we would call, or what they call, the sexual excitation system, and a brake pedal. This would be inhibition, right? Think of it as the sexual inhibition system. Every person will engage in one or both pedals to a differing degree, given any particular unique circumstance that's showing up for them, whether it's their sexual physiology, history, personality. Many things here can play a role too, like stress, age, hormones, conflict in your relationship. And quite frankly, if you're me, your favorite tennis player just lost a match. I'm looking at you, Naomi Osaka, but no pressure. So you need to understand what these brakes and accelerators are for you so you can tell your partner where you are at and why you may be pulling away from them. This can look like sexual state of the union check-ins with one another, where you set aside usually 30 minutes and talk about your turn-ons and turn-offs. If any of you have done this before, you know how powerful this can be in resetting the playing field and helping both of you feel like you are starting on the same page again. We also need to watch out for our relationship turning into what we call a parent-child dynamic. This is exactly what it sounds like. One of us is moving into the caregiver role and the other is moving into the dependent role. This can happen quite easily because humans love and crave connection with each other. And empathy tends to be a huge skill that's practiced in loving relationships. When we show a lot of caring and want to take care of our partners because we love them, this is one dynamic that can show up. And remember, emotional connection can suck the energy out of passion and sexuality. You essentially block the erotic energy from showing up because you are stuck in the caregiver and dependent role. Emily Nagoski talked about this in her book, Come Together, when she references different kinds of rooms that we walk into before we enter the sex room. She calls these the pleasure favorable rooms. And to her, they are lust, play, seeking, and care. So if you know you are heading into the parent-child dynamic, talk about it. I help clients by giving them the homework of the parent doing less and the child being more independent. So if the parent typically does the laundry, the child now does the laundry. If the parent makes all of the decisions, the child needs to step up and make the decisions. We need to see each other as independent from one another again so that we can engage in the playfulness. So let's do a quick review. I know I told you this wouldn't be too academic, but hey, your sex life is worth it. 1, this is common. It happens to most, if not all of us. 2, pay attention to your stress levels and what your brakes and accelerators are and tell each other. And 3, make sure you are both staying equal with one another and avoiding the trap of the parent-child dynamic. Now let's move more into what actually works and breaks the erotic stalemate. We need to prioritize sex. Period. End of story. Just like you did in the beginning when you were getting to know each other, you need to do it again. And you have so many ways of doing this. Flirting with each other is a phenomenal start. Whether that is texting or sexting, light touches. Flirting leads to anticipation, and anticipation leads to sex. If you want a specific activity, then let's set aside time and talk about the 3 best times you have had sex. Not with other people, but with each other. What was happening during those encounters? Get into the details with each other. Relive it. The emotions, the positions, the touches, the smells, the intimacy. Was it in the summer, winter? Were you at home? on vacation, on the 50-yard line of your high school football field. We want to pull from what works so that we can resource it. And just talking about sex tends to make us want to have sex. As I wrap up, I would also just like to say that a sex and relationship expert can really help here. Whether as an online coach or an ASECT certified sex therapist, these professionals usually have the training needed to help you and your partners work through any deeper rooted issues that may be stopping you. Remember, don't panic. Turn off the alarm bells. Just listening to this episode shows me that you care enough to take these risks and figure out your sex life. You got this. And if you feel so inclined, I would love to hear how it's going. Talk soon. Sex Here and Now is written and recorded by me, Matt Lockman. For more resources, education, or support, you can find me on all social platforms at Cleveland Sex Therapy. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay curious.